Tennessee, Colorado, and now Georgia. This powerhouse is continuously looking to elevate herself personally, professionally, and spiritually. I've had the unique pleasure of connecting with this powerhouse by way of Dorian Troy, our creative director for Big Moves, Bigger Conversations. Her hugs are warm and her spirit is infectious. She's a mother, wife, daughter, business partner, real estate agent, entrepreneur, and a podcast host for her own show, Elevate Collection Podcast. And of course, the next guest of Big Moves, Bigger Conversations. Welcome, Alexandria Reed. So welcome, Alex Reed, to BNBC. I am super excited to have you.
I am beyond excited to be here. And honestly, I'm honored to be here. So thank you for having me.
She's trying to get me to get up to cry.
No, it's a big deal. This
It
is the spaces that you created. This is beautiful and I'm grateful.
Thank you. And I'm honored that you are here and willing to give your time to share you're all about you. With that being said, Alex, I do want to allow space for you to share your background. Who is Alex Reed?
100%. That, no, I'm just kidding. No, gosh. I mean, the things that I'm most proud of are being a mom.
Yeah.
A mom, and not only that, being proud that I'm not a stay-at-home mom. I think as a mother and as a woman, you're expected to want to be that, and I was like, that makes me absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
As much as I love my children, but I mean, I'm just a girl.
Yeah, Alex. Every time I think I know where you're going, you say the complete opposite, and I fall. I get more and more excited.
I'm like, I'm just a girl. I'm out here hanging out.
Yes, love that. Okay, well, so we do have some questions, and so Alex, in the same lane of understanding who Alex is, Alex, what makes you smile?
Oh my goodness. What makes me smile is when I can see other people mirror back to me.
Yes.
Their authenticity
of
just being 100% themselves. That makes me happy when people can show up in spaces that, I don't know, they have the permission to be themselves. Yeah. That makes me smile.
Love that. And then similarly, what makes you tick?
Okay, I'm going to get some clarity on this one.
Okay.
Tick for me is twofold. Is it makes me tick, what really drives me, or what gives me the ick?
Well, negative connotation of what upset. I didn't want to use the word upset, but what gets Alex upset?
I don't like being censored.
Oh.
And I don't like when other people are censored.
Okay.
That makes me very angry.
Okay. And that's easy enough. We will not censor you here on BNBC. Okay, so I'd love for you to finish this sentence. Alex is professionally who?
A creator of ecosystems.
Okay. Provide perspective into the ecosystem that you're in or that you're establishing.
Yes, the creator of ecosystems in my world exists at the intersection of sports and entertainment. And that has catapulted me into, of course, the real estate space. That's where home is. We specialize at Elevate Collection in the relocation of professional athletes, entertainers, C-suite executives. We do everybody, but we have a really honed in space of excellence that we can do that in.
Mm-hmm.
And then with way that we've built our business, we then have, of course, our podcast, and that allows us to shed spotlight on how folks are using their influence to create impact or create a legacy. And then we take those things and the things that we learn about our clients from one perspective and then the other on the podcast perspective, and figure out how we can create these systems around them to basically put some spotlight there, but also generate revenue into their circle or into their ecosystem. So I like to create systems and ecosystems with anyone that we're connected with. How can we connect the dots? How can we make this be a well-oiled machine? Or how can we generate revenue that is fivefold?
Yeah. And one of the things that we discussed, again, that kind of was this is such an Alex thing when you were money. I want to make money.
Yeah.
And most people aren't that maybe matter of fact as it relates to money. We always feel like money is this ick thing, but in reality, that If you zoom in on this podcast, you better believe it was money.
It is.
That got this set together. And so what allows you to be that comfortable in articulating, listen, I am creating this ecosystem, relationships are important, but in addition to all of those things, money is also a driver.
Money is a huge driver, and I think people try to make themselves appear more humble and like have all this false humility around money, but money makes the world go round.
Correct.
So there's this line in Meg Thee Stallion song where she goes, "You say I'm all about money, yeah," and that is literally my thing. I'm like, "You're all about money, yeah," because I am.
Yeah.
Like I'm on it, but it's not because of like a selfish motivation, but I am fully aware that money is what makes the world go round.
Yeah.
And when it comes to money, specifically women with money, and then if we can hone in even further, Black women with money, it is statistically proven that we're the ones that are investing back into our communities.
Yep.
So we talk about impact, we talk about change, you want to do all of these things in the world, but guess what has to fuel that? Money. So if I make more money, then I have the ability to pour back into my communities, or then I have the ability to avail myself to opportunities or put myself in a room that otherwise wouldn't, by any other definition, without like nepotism or anything like that, I wouldn't be able to be in the room.
Right.
So sometimes that money pays for access, and that access allows you to then have conversations with people you wouldn't typically be able to have. And then what if that brings forth the now investment, and then you get to pour that back into your community, and then it creates this ecosystem of the way the world works. Like, I mean, the government's in it.
Correct. And I feel like, again, sort of the point that you made around money, the more we distance ourselves from it or from that conversation, we're almost saying we're doing it for free. I'm not doing this for free. We're not doing any of this for free. And so I feel like that should be a reinforcement, at least to our audience, to say, like, get comfortable talking about money.
Mm-hmm.
Get comfortable wanting to be at the table. And one of the items that you're talking about is money. A consistent theme on this podcast has been about, when we talk to our entrepreneurs, when we talk to folks who are trying to create something, it all stems back to funding.
Oh, it does. But you have to think about it where I think a failure, I won't say a failure, but a lesson that I had to learn. They say the lessons that you learn either hurt the most or they cost you the most.
Okay.
So the ones that keep costing me the most are the ones when I devalue myself, or I'm like, oh no, we can totally collaborate. And collaboration is key, but what is our definition of collaboration as entrepreneurs? And I think that, I mean, on my soapbox, ask for the money.
Zoom in.
Just saying.
Okay, and so you have a business where you say, I want a business that's rooted in connection. Has that come to fruition, and are there other factors that have become guiding principles?
Oh, it's so good. Jordan's my business partner, we built our business on connection. When it came to growing the real estate side of things, it was, baby, I can do a lot of things, but knocking on doors is not one of them. Yeah. I'm not cold calling. That's just not me.
Yeah.
And so building a business based on connection, we were able to, I mean, this last year we built, what was it? I think our numbers were just under like $30 million business on connection, not a cold call, not a door knock or anything like that, but based on connections and spreading that ecosystem that we have. And so has it come into fruition on connection? 100%. I don't think we've gotten anything that hasn't been like a direct referral from somebody else. I don't know. The connection is just key. I think that a lot of times people think sales or entrepreneurship is just a numbers game, and to a degree, it is, right? But connection, and I think that's like broad, right? Like that's the full like breadth of business, and I think that's surface. The numbers to me are a little more surface.
Yeah.
Whereas the depth of the connection is what I believe creates sustainability in a business, and what has created sustainability in our business specifically, because the connections are great, but if we left them at surface,
right,
there's not an ability for them to multiply. And so outside of connection, and that really coming into fruition of building our business based on connection, outside of that, another guiding principle, I think, goes in tandem with that principle is the idea that the depth of the relationships are what allows us to make our income sustainable and not just, like a peak and a low.
Yeah. And I was going to ask, like, I feel like, again, here on BNBC, we don't want to just chit chat. We want to educate. It is understanding, we all hear about networking, the importance of networking, building relationships. But what are some of the things that you do well that you think help to create that other layer?
Connecting the dots with intentionality.
Okay.
I I believe we do that well. I do that well from the perspective of not just making random connections and
Yeah.
introductions to other people, but really trying to approach everything with, okay, how can I add value?
Mhm.
How can I don't typically ask for anything when I
Yeah.
meet anyone unless it's something that I need or if they proposition me with the question,
Okay.
right? But I would say going in with being value driven
Yeah.
and then being intentional about introductions and connections that you made, like that gatekeeping nonsense is just
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like, oh, well, this is a person that I know, like
Yeah.
you don't need to know them. No,
Yeah.
no. Actually, this is a connection that I have, and I think if you two connected, it could do XYZ for you.
Yeah.
Or this is where these interests overlap, and I don't expect anything from those connections outside of the ability for them to hopefully create something together
Yeah.
or be able to move their needles further faster.
Yeah.
And so I go in with the idea of this, how can I elevate? We truly believe that we elevate by elevating the lives of other people, and that's lived out and walked out in the way that we network and connect with other people.
Yeah. And I've seen you do that in practice where when we were doing our initial discussion, you said, how can I help? And I thought, for me anyway, someone that is building and then speaking to you, and you're like, no, who from my network? Like, how can I help? And I'm like, well, da 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 da. And so one of the things that you taught me, even in our pre-call, was when I went to other guests to be very clear and intentional about these are some of the things, and having that list sort of pre-planned. Not that I needed something from them, but if they asked, this is my list.
Because it may not be them that can fulfill
Correct.
that, but if you make that request known after they've inquired,
Yeah.
it may not be the person, but it could be like, actually, my cousin Pookie and them know that da 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 da. You know, it could be whatever you want it to be, but
Yeah.
you don't know. And like, what did Mama say? Closed mouths don't get fed.
Closed mouths don't get fed, and there are some of those what did Mama say lessons that we don't reinforce, but are absolutely needed, and it's a reason Mama said it.
Exactly.
So in our next segment, Ask Sasha, we got an anonymous question in, and it says, Sasha, how do you not gatekeep who you truly are? Typically, my silliness is reserved for those I know I am most comfortable with. And I would just say, based on our episode today, I like to lead with authenticity. And so I am so sure of Sasha. If there is no one else I'm sure about in a room, it's me. And so I don't really have like a, renowned, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do. I would just say, get comfortable with who you are. And then that will be your driver for showing up consistently who you are. I don't think it is a negative to show any aspect of yourself. Obviously, there's conversations around, well, I don't want to be vulnerable with this group. I don't want to, y'all have seen me cry so many times on this platform. Let that be your encouragement or just a real life example. It is okay. You live past these moments, and none of these moments are so definitive of who you are. The people that love you will continue to gravitate towards you and be in your community. And so this is just another Ask Sasha, but just be yourself. Carrying on to those points, though, I do want to talk about another avenue that we lean into, which is spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
Alex, how often is God asking you, or you feel God is calling you for more?
Often.
Yes.
Or often and, I don't even say but, often and more has become very discerning. I have to be very discerning in the way that when I'm hearing from God of what does more mean? Because more, I think people hear the word more and they think like in excess of.
Yeah.
But for this season of my life, the more that I know God has called me to is more no's need to come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
So that sounds antithetical to like what more is, but I think it's been leaning into what more looks like. By definition, is more saying no more often.
Mm-hmm.
Is God asking you for bigger in the space of not making yourself small,
Yeah.
or Is God asking you for more? Is he asking you to shut up and be silent more?
Yeah.
And just listen?
Yeah.
So I would say often. I feel like, man, discernment, that's not always a fun position to be in when it comes to like when he's asking you for more.
Yeah.
Or bigger. It's just, what does that look like for you? And really being so locked in and like tunnel vision to where it's not a lot of out here when I hear more.
Yeah.
It has to be like here for me to hear more.
Yeah. And I feel like even in this season, it's like, yes, for me personally, I feel like I'm in a place of like, or last year rather, call for stillness. And it's been a long time since I've been like still.
But what does still look like for you?
So stillness for me is sitting with myself and like not being so reactionary around, oh, I need to do this, that, and third. Like last year, I was laid off in January of 2025. I lost my grandmother in December of 2024. I absolutely, in my previous version of Sasha, would have been like, oh no, I'm filling out 150 LinkedIn. Like I'm reaching out to everybody in my network. I have to get another job. Stillness for me looked like, sit down, girl. Like you will be fine. I've literally worked since I was 16 years old.
Yep.
I lost my father at 18 years old. And that was my financial security. So I know what it means to hustle. I know what it means to be able to provide for myself. And I think last year in losing my grandmother, who was like she was my person, I just needed to sit with the grief.
No.
Oh,
sorry, I know I messed up the set. I just need it.
And I think like another aspect that we leaned into was how often that grief pushes.
Yep.
Right? We share that we both lost our fathers. And so why I gather myself, I want you to share how, because I think grief when loss when it happens, it does propel me. But it's about my ability, and God reminded me of this, is sitting in it and realizing, what do I want out of my life? And what are you moving towards, and where's your purpose? And my purpose is absolutely creating a platform where you are intentional about connecting, right? Like, for me, in the number of people I've met in just the last year and in the last 6 months, been incredible. The quality of people have been insane. And so that is all by way of this production and the individuals who are in this room. And so when you say, what does stillness look like? Is listening to God, because he will create. Through my unemployment, I never went without a check. I didn't go without. And so it is important that when you talk about here, that you are absolutely centered.
100%. And I don't think we shared this. I don't know if I shared that piece with you, that in 2024, I also lost my grandfather. Yeah. And so my grandfather was like the driving force of our entire family. Like he was the baseline of our entire family. So grief, they say when like a woman, a girl, a child, they lose like their identity comes from their father.
Yeah.
Right. My dad was like in and out of like prison, like growing up and things like that before he passed away in 2022. And grief for me was a catalyst. And for a long time, I felt so bad about saying it was a catalyst, but it was, because I don't know that I would be the Alexandria Reed that I am today without that initial loss of my father. And that plus a psychiatrist, plus, therapist, plus God, all those things. Yeah. But grief was such a beautiful catalyst for me, because I had to realize that my sense of identity, granted, my dad was in and out, but there were things that I had to learn that were grounding me that I didn't realize grounded me so much. So like there was one thing from little girl, like my dad would always say, who's that girl? And it was daddy's girl. Like there was not a hesitation. It was just, who's that girl? Daddy's girl. Yeah. Or who's the most beautiful girl in the whole wide world? Like that was a sense that I had with him. And like losing my dad made me feel so shaken that I didn't realize until later that it was because my identity I felt like my identity had shifted, and I had to grieve that version of me in order to get to that next level. And as much as I would trade anything for my grandfather to still be here, But then losing my grandfather 2 years after that, and, same way when it came to stillness, I know I overperform. I overfunction. It is a trait that a lot of high achieving, like go-getter, specifically Black women have.
Yeah.
It is something that's very, very, it's almost intrinsic. Even when you talk about, what was it, the 94% of us that had it right?
Yep.
We talk about that, like we do so much when it comes to the weight that we carry, I think, as women and as Black women. And when my dad died, I remembered it was instant. I'm the oldest daughter. I'm the one who's a beneficiary. Like I gotta work. I gotta work. I gotta fix it. I gotta make it. I gotta take care of it. I gotta move it. I gotta shake it. That's what I always did. And then losing my dad caused me to do exactly what like your layoff did.
Yeah.
Of I had to get really still because I don't think it hit me when my dad died until about 30 days after. I was in the pickup line at my daughter's school, and out of nowhere, just like hysterical. I couldn't drive anymore, like just crying in the car. So it was a catalyst then, but then I found myself revisiting that same behavior when my grandfather died. Of like, great, grandma, I got it. Don't worry about it. I got this. Let's pack up the house. Like I handled it, but that's what I naturally do.
Right.
And so, I mean, Lord, like we don't have to go through those tests again. But so I'm like, I think I learned it this time.
We need some wood on this.
I know. Like I think I learned it this time, but I remember being in that whole process with my grandfather and realizing like, okay, you're doing exactly what you did last time.
Yeah, you have to learn the lesson. Yeah.
And that's what it is. I think that stillness is there. So grief has been a catalyst of how I handle business, how I show up. It showed me that life is short, make an impact, and also that nuance doesn't have to be simplified. And these feelings are just complex. And grief, while it can really suck, it can also is a beautiful catalyst.
Yeah.
Super long-winded answer.
No, but it's a part of life. No, that was an amazing answer. Alex, one of the areas that I definitely want to hone in on is partnership and talking about all things Elevate. And so starting in Colorado.
Yes.
Talk about what that experience and really where I want you to go is from being in Colorado, all those things that entail there, and then Georgia.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's one of the funnest stories to tell because people are always floored by it.
Yes.
So Colorado, we started Elevate in Colorado, but the way I met my business partner, Jordan, came about through a shopping experience with my grandmother. We were shopping at this store and had a poor experience. I was like, and my grandma, like, you don't understand. Like, we went to go see The Help. Like, I was like, shh, stay quiet, stay quiet. She's very vocal. And I was like, no, it's grandma, like, they're just busy. We'll come back.
Yeah.
And like, that's all it is.
Yeah.
Came back again. We weren't spoken to. Like, it's a really poor experience. She goes home. We're talking about it. My husband hears about it. My husband's like, no, that's unacceptable. And so he's like, I think they're being racist. And so my husband calls after my grandmother is outraged. And the manager that answers the phone happens to be my now business partner, Jordan Hawkins. And so Jordan answers the phone, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And granted, she's from South Carolina, so, it was full twang. It was full like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, the whole thing. And she invited my grandmother and I in for an experience. It had like champagne and shopping and stuff, and we just got to connecting about just like life and goals and vision. And then next thing you know, as if, again, over-functioning adult, as if I didn't have anything else to do, got a part-time job where she was just so we could hang out and be compensated for it. So I started work like 2 nights a week, just like hanging out, got a cool little store discount and stuff, and we would just talk. And then at the time I was in the hospitality space and doing like marketing, hospitality, like large-scale events, and she was there. And then eventually I made a transition into do more marketing on the hospitality space through like branded goods and like experiential items. And I had left because I was like, I can't do this now because the locations were too far apart, all the things. So we did that, and then we were in touch but very distant.
Okay.
And then I had reached out to her a little bit before her birthday just to check in with her, and so we got together for her birthday. And I, at this time, had already had my real estate license for about a year at this time because my daughter had came home one day and was like, I don't like going to aftercare. And I said, bet you're not going again. So I went and got that real estate license for freedom so I could volunteer, pick up my kids from school, all those things. And then Jordan was like, I ended up in dental. I don't know how I got here. Like, this is crazy. And I was like, get your real estate license, quit. Like, just do it.
So you were the driving force. Oh, I love that.
I was just like, quit. Like, life is too short to be miserable. So I was like, study for your license. Like, I'll help you. Like, quit. So she did that. She got licensed, and then got us all kind of moving along. And then we decided one day in a board, we're like, no, this is the space that I want to do this in. Like, I want to do it in sports. We're already volunteering. Like, we're planning, athletes, charity golf tournaments, like all these things. Like, I want to be able to do the real estate side in that space that we already dwell in. And so we started Elevate in a boardroom at Compass Real Estate in Denver on a napkin. I was like, but I want to elevate people. And then we like literally drew the logo on a napkin. I wish I had the napkin because we'd frame it. But we started it there. And then shortly after, she gets word that her husband's getting relocated to Atlanta. And so we're like, I guess we're expanding.
Yeah.
And so we expanded quickly. And then I had an incredible support. A good friend of mine, Kelly, she heads up our Denver team now. That really helped us get a lot of great infrastructure for us to be able to expand to Atlanta so quickly. And so Jordan expanded to Atlanta, and then my mom moved to Atlanta, and then my brother moved to Atlanta, and Jordan was like, you need to move to Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm moving to Atlanta. And I was actually really hesitant at first. And I was like, nope, Colorado's good, like Colorado's super great, like it's fine, like I'm running here, like I got it, we're good.
Yeah.
And I finally was open to it, and I was like, if Brennan's job lets him keep his Colorado salary and move to Atlanta, sure. I had like 2-second conversation with his boss, and he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay.
Well, is this post-COVID?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is
so
post-COVID.
Like all the conversations around relocation changed post-COVID.
But his company was they were at the time where they're making everybody come back into the office now 3 times a week at minimum.
Yeah.
And he's in leadership. And so I was like, they're not going to say, I knew they weren't going to say yes.
Yeah. And then they did.
The guy was like, JK, girl.
Exactly.
And then I was like, all right, fine. I know real estate. I said, the market just shifted. And so I was like, well, we'll list the house and see if it sells for what we want it. We'd only bought it like a year and a half. Listed, it goes in the MLS at like 5 or 6 a.m. I had a first showing by 8 a.m. They were in the house by 8:30. And I had an offer in my hands by 10:30. And it was like 20,000 over list. And I was like, okay, God, I hear you, fine. And we got up and we moved to Atlanta. And it's been a blessing ever since. Of just literally, it was a moment when God said bigger, and that bigger looked like relocation. That bigger looked like this last year. So 2025, we tripled our business by us being in the same city. But what's interesting about that, with me having a business partner, we don't believe in scarcity, and we don't want any room for things to like get muddy when it came to business partnership.
Yeah.
And so right off the bat, we were like, all right, it is 50-50. Our husbands did not understand it. They did not agree with it. Why are you splitting all your income 50-50, like on all your real estate deals? Because it doesn't make sense, right? You're just like, what if it's your cousin? 50-50.
Okay.
What if it's your sister? 50-50.
Yeah.
And it took all of the like extra like tension, because tension usually is created around what?
Yeah.
Money.
Money. Yeah.
And so we're like, let's remove that. And we tripled our numbers. Like partnership has been such a blessing. Also, it's been a blessing from the perspective of like, you have the same traumas.
And you just
like your client traumas.
You're like, we just want to move past this hiccup. There's going to be other things that we have to go back and forth on, but this isn't going to be the one. I love that.
Because they tell you about like entrepreneurship. You'd be like, yep, I got $20,000 in the account. Day 2, I got 20 cents in the account. Like, very much reality.
I was rich yesterday.
Yeah, I was on top of the world. Now I'm there, but like just a little different.
I love that. I don't want to skip over what Georgia has been for you, in the sense of, we talk about from an entrepreneurial perspective how the hardest part of entrepreneurship is seeing that side of you, like various sides of you, and almost like shedding, right? And so what shed coming from Colorado now heading into Georgia?
The way I can answer this question is actually from a statement from my mentor. She said, Alex, moving to Georgia unlocked you. And I was like, well, how so? Like, what do you mean? And I didn't see it that way until I turned around. Like, I experienced things, but I didn't see it until I turned around. And honestly, I think what it did for me and it shifted for me is this, like, performance. And I didn't realize how much I was performing in Colorado. I am, well, certainly the minority in Colorado. I am the anomaly in Colorado. It's very much like, anytime I was asked to speak, guess what it was on? A diversity panel.
Minorities.
Yeah, exactly. It was like you knew that you were in the room sometimes for that diversity play. You knew, like, I had to just get really comfortable with it. And so being in Georgia, I didn't realize how much I was performing in Colorado until I got here. I didn't realize how much I was truly like code switching until I got here. And don't get me wrong, like I can talk to the janitor, I can talk to the president. Like my
Yeah.
daddy taught, like, I can do it.
Yeah.
But in the settings that I was doing it in Colorado weren't the same settings here, because here I'm not the minority.
Yeah.
And there's so much solidarity and community, and in a community that you were born into,
Yeah.
opposed to earning
Yeah.
your spot in.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just the best way I could answer it is that Georgia unlocked me. It shed the idea of performance in any space that I walk into, and it's something that I'm actively like working on and working through, of how I show up authentically and trying to figure out like what is professional. Like, what does that even mean?
We can do a whole series on what is deemed professional versus like where that all stemmed from, like the history, all
racism.
of it. Well, and we say all things are rooted in racism to a degree, and why we think it, and the way in which we think and or approach professionalism. And so I think what you did there was end it perfectly. And so I'm going to keep it there and segue into my favorite section of BNBC, and that is this or that.
Okay.
And so the way it works is literally as it sounds. You're going to choose this or that. And where you want to, you can add commentary, but we'll just go with it. So, heels or flats?
Heels.
Denver or Atlanta?
Atlanta.
Hey, slow down on your answers. we want them to at least think you thought about it.
No.
Forward thinking or reflective? Oh, look at that. We got her.
You did. Reflective.
Why?
Reflective because if I can reflect back on how I answered something, it'll automatically propel me into the forward thinking for next time.
100% agree with you, and I love that answer. Hip hop or R&B?
R&B.
I'm a hip hop kind of girl. Museum or a day in the park?
What season is the park?
Spring.
Okay. No, it's museum. I like AC.
You like AC? All right.
Okay, so wait. Can I ask you a question before we end?
You're trying to take over my platform, Alex?
Never, 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 never. But
yes,
you have this beautiful audience.
Yeah.
How can your listeners elevate you? What can they do to help move your needle forward?
I always go back to what I said actually in my individual episode, which is I don't care when you join the BNBC journey. I just want you to get on it. How do you support me? By sending this to others who have not subscribed. YouTube is a beast of its own. And so there is so much intentionality and money that goes behind being able to grow a platform. And so I would absolutely love for the folks who are tuning in to subscribe to Big Moves, Bigger Conversations, and follow the Instagram page at BNBC_Sasha. Thank you.
Well, see, I took it over. Just,
You did it. And she is a host by background. And so that's why it was so easy for you.
Well, what you're doing is amazing here. So thank you again for having me.
Thank you, Alex. Alex, the way that we close every episode of Big Moves, Bigger Conversations, we do a call to action. And so what is your call to action to our viewers? And I want you to look right into your camera and tell the people.
I would say it would just be from a place of advice, not from a place that I've arrived or to be preachy, but just to challenge you in thinking that your nuance needs to be simplified. Let your answers be your answers. You don't have to simplify it because duality exists, and so can nuance.
I love that. Alex, first of all, thank you for joining us in studio. And as always, guys, I am always encouraged when you tune into the episodes of Big Moves, Bigger Conversations. Hopefully you took away from today's episode that literally you can make whatever you want possible. Alex has changed careers, locations, and even was able to find another version of herself. And with that, we appreciate you tuning in to yet another episode of Big Moves, Bigger Conversations. I'm your host, Sasha.